I would be lying if I said you wouldn't have to be willing to kill. Like, we might have killed somebody, bro. Like, what do you mean you're not willing to kill? Nah, I don't want you around me if you're not willing to kill. We gotta kill. My name is Shanduke McPhatter, also known as Trife Gangster, and I'm here to answer questions from the honesty box. How were you recruited? I was recruited as a teen. I was one of the first adolescents in the state of New York to join the United Blood Nation, or the New York Bloods. I was recruited because I was on Rikers Island for a robbery charge, and I got jumped 3 times by the Latin Kings in the Earth. I was in a housing area that was predominantly Spanish. And when I retaliated and was sent to an adult box or special housing unit, as it's called in New York, and they saw or had heard about what happened, they introduced me to the Bloods. That was my recruitment. From there, I had to put on for the United Blood Nation by standing up against any oppressions on any black or brown or anybody that was being oppressed while on Rikers Island.
Why did you want to join?
I wanted to join because I was young, I didn't have nothing to live for, and it made sense to me at that time. I was raised in a community that had nothing but oppression and destruction, and what was in me was someone who had the will and the fight in myself to be the opposition. Did you have to be willing to kill to join the Bloods? I would say yes. Yes, I would say yes. I would be lying if I said you wouldn't have to be willing to kill. Like, we might have killed somebody, bro. Like, what do you mean you're not willing to kill? Nah, I don't want you around me if you're not willing to kill. We gotta kill, right? People here kill so easily, it's like, yeah, if you're in the army, they killing, right? And somebody in the gang is thinking I'm in the same position. So if I gotta kill to survive, you damn skippy, I'm gonna kill to survive, right? So yes, that was definitely a mindset, ability that you'd be willing to kill to join the Bloods.
I guess you were 16 or so when you...
Oh yeah, I definitely, I went through foster care. I never met my father. Like, I don't even know what he looked like today. And I know that affected me as a young person. So I didn't have a care. I was super violent. I felt better after some violence. Like, you know, beat him up, I feel good now, let's have fun, right? That's where I was. It's because that was all that was put in front of me, right? Growing up, the hood movies, living in the projects, you come outside, it's something that becomes a part of your life as normal. Did you go to prison? What for? Yes, I did. From the age of 16 to the age of 30, I was the recidivist. I was in and out. I believe that helped keep me relevant inside of the prison system as well as the streets, because I did an installment of 13 years of in and out. A lot of time, most of that time was spent on Rikers Island, and I did 2 state bids. Both of them were 3 years apiece, and I spent predominantly all of my time in maximum facility prisons. In New York, if you gotta have 7 years or more to go to a maximum prison. And when I went to prison in 1996, the Bloods had came to New York in 93, and the Bloods were the minority in state prison. And I had to make sure that I wasn't cut or stabbed and maintain my reputation. So with 3 years, I was in one medium, and the rest of my time, which was maxed out, it was in a maximum facility prison around lifers. I went for numerous crimes from robbery, shooting. One thing I don't have is crimes against women and or children. Where did the rivalry between the Crips and Bloods originate? This is a very good question. If you ask somebody from the West Coast, they'll tell you that it came from beef over a jacket or something. This is what we had heard. I haven't sat down with anyone myself from the West Coast. I'm not really big on sitting down with people from the West Coast, but I've never sat down to get their understanding other than what we was told third party. When the Bloods were originated in New York, they were originated on Rikers Island and originated to fight against oppression and protect black men that were on Rikers Island. But someone had brought the Crips to New York about the same time that the Bloods hit Rikers Island. The Crips were brought to New York in the streets. And whoever had brought the Crips brought the West Coast mindset to New York that the Crips and the Bloods had beef therefore bringing that beef into New York. What is the initiation like? So the initiation is different for people. People have created their own initiations. Coming up in Rikers Island, the initiation, when I came about, was identifying an enemy. Enemy at that time could have been a Latin king in the Eta. Those are the primary enemies. And at that point, it was also correctional officers, because they were correctional officers in Rikers Island who were gang affiliated with the kings and the Etas. And once you identified one of those enemies, you either take a razor or an ice pick or whatever type of weapon you could, and you stab them, cut them up. And that was the initiation. That was the real initiation to be blood in the first generation in New York. Can you demonstrate the Bloods gang sign? Yeah, there's a couple. That's BLOOD. That's it right there. But this is the one that we always had, Peace Blood. That was the original sign in New York. We had other things that we would throw that you understand was East Side all the time, right? Things like that. You on New York know what that meant. Those were codes that identified someone that was part of the United Blood Nation during our time. And there's other sets that created their own types of signs that, as long as it represents a B, that would be a representation of a blood gang sign. Were you a violent person? Yes, I was. I was extremely violent. I enjoyed violence, but my violence only came when you asked for violence. That's how I saw it. Oh, you asked me to give you some violence. Here you go. All right, I'll happily give you this violence. And that's how I was, right? But yes, I was very violent, I believe, because I didn't care about that. I didn't have a concern in this world. I felt that I didn't get the opportunities in life that I should have as a young person. I didn't understand life, and everything around me was violent. So I said, before somebody hurt me, I'll be the most violent person that I could be. So yes, I'm happy to have overcome being such a violent person. And I can say that because there are people who say, if I say I wasn't violent, like, hey, he's a liar, man. That man was super violent. What happens to people who betray others in the gang? Death. That's the highest extent. But, people have been robbed, beat, stabbed, cut. That was the way it used to be. A lot of just cut them, stab them up. That was actually our identification back in the days. And what we would do is, if he violated, we cut him. Same way we cut an enemy. That was how you got out the game. We cut you, right? That was a $1.50. That $1.50, people would see it and say, you did something, and that was identification that you don't want to mess with this person because somebody cut him for something. I mean, later on, it changed because there was so many gangsters cutting each other in prison that, you didn't know why they was cut, but you would do your homework and understand who this person was once you seen that $1.50. But yeah, there's people who definitely have been murdered because they betrayed their gang. Have you ever been shot at? Yeah, definitely, several times. The main story that I want to tell in regards to getting shot at was a good brother, rest in peace to O. He had came home from prison for doing time. I believe it was for a shooting of some sort. And at that time, I was selling drugs, highly on selling crack, crack cocaine. And we had the block, the building jumping, a lot of money coming through. And one day he told us nobody's going to hustle in the building when it got cold. Like, he was just telling us we couldn't hustle there, and like he made this money happen. But anyhow, I said, you're not going to tell me what to do. And later that day, he shot at me. And then he ran to his car, went in the mailbox, got my gun out the mailbox, shot back at him, went upstairs, reloaded, came back, he was downstairs, shot back at him again. And then I went away for about a couple of weeks, waiting to come back so I could go ahead and gun him down early in the morning when he came out, 6 o'clock in the morning. My plan was just to shoot him down. And as I was waiting in the hallway while he was talking to a customer, because my morals and principles didn't allow me to shoot at him while there was even though that was a crackhead, I had to wait for that crackhead to leave so I could shoot him. And down the stairs from the exit right to the left of me at that time was his brother, who saw me with a .40 caliber in my hand. And he said, are you waiting to shoot my brother? And I said, yeah, you know what's going on. And he was able to talk me down because he was my friend. While his brother was in jail, me and him were growing up together, even doing hustling together. He was able to get us to talk later that night. And that story always stuck with me because that was the transition when I decided that I would be a catalyst against violence. I remember that someone was able to talk me down at a very pivotal point in my life.
As part of the Bloods, was there always a risk that you might be shot at, that you might be harmed or killed?
That was a risk as a young black person growing up in Brooklyn, regardless of any type of affiliation. They used to call me two-gun trife because I woke up and I put on two guns. Right? I had two guns in the back of my pants, and I might have a vest on like this, and you wouldn't know that I had the two guns back there. And it's just, you'd rather be caught with it than be caught without it, right? So when you look at gun violence in New York, they make it seem like it's just about gangs. It's about poverty. It's about a bunch of people living in niche developments, which we call projects, and there's this generational conflict that's continually happening. And you got continuing law enforcement sweeps that's taking leaders out the community, even if they're bad leaders. You're causing, just like if you cut the weeds are gonna grow again, right? So it's just that people feel that they need to be protected. They'd rather, go to jail than to go to grave. How many people do you know that have died? I can't even count. I mean, if we're talking about violence, I know so many. My younger brother was shot and killed in a nightclub in May 25th. I lose focus every time I bring that up, right? He was a friend and a bodyguard, security rather. Friend and security to a rapper, and the rapper had beef, and the individual brought a gun into a Manhattan nightclub. It was a highly popularized case. And my younger brother was shot and killed. That has continued to affect me, but I'm a strong individual, and it always makes me think about the people who don't have the strength that continue to lose people to gun violence. So it has taught me how to understand, not just sympathize, but to empathize as well. What is the most violent thing you witnessed? Murder. I mean, don't get no more violent than that. I mean, one time I was in Harlem, and a guy we was out there, went to go see a friend of mine, and he was hustling as well. We just chilling, and he made a sale, and he started arguing with a woman who actually happened to be a customer. And he disrespected this older black woman, and I was like, yo, bro, you need to go put your war hat on. Like, I know she got a child or something. I don't give a F. And I saw the guy coming back, and it looked like he had a Uzi in the bag. And he walked right up on my man and killed him. I ain't had no gun or nothing. I couldn't do nothing. It was extremely violent because he shot him down with a Uzi. And that was the most violent thing that I witnessed.
How do you feel in those moments?
You don't feel. We have to realize that there are so many people who have become desensitized to violence. When we say desensitized, I could hear gunshots and I would, at that point, just look around to see where it's coming from, where you technically supposed to get down and run. We're looking to make sure it's not coming at us. That's being desensitized to violence. So when you grow up and you're so used and accustomed to violence, it don't affect you no more. And that's why so many people are so violent these days. Who is a bigger gang, the Bloods or the Cops? What kind of question is that? That is so obvious, everybody. COPS, POLICE. New York, NYPD, LAPD. Can women join the Bloods? Yes, women can join the Bloods. For me, I've never turned a woman blood in my life. And when I came out of going back and forth to Rikers Island, there were more women that were involved. But there was also a lot of foul stuff happening because there were Bloods in New York having sex with girls to turn them blood as an initiation. And I'm somebody that came out of jail as a leader of the Bloods, and we would handle anybody that we found out had turned women blood by having sex with them. We never accepted that. But yes, there's some women who did it by putting in work respectfully and have become leaders in their own rights, in their own sets, in their own neighborhoods. How do people get a hold of weapons? Weapons are easy to, when I was young, I seen the MAC-10 at the age of 10, 11, 12. And it's easy, we're talking about growing up in poverty. We're talking about, disproportionately treated communities. So what you have is the influx of guns. I've seen so many white men come to me and show me trunks of guns when I was out in the streets hustling and purchasing guns. I just never went out of the state of New York. So I've always been I'll just do the local crimes type of guy. Like, you can keep the federal stuff from me, I'm good. So if me gotta go to another state to get a weapon, it's just not gonna happen, or do a crime, it's just not gonna happen. But so they used to come to Brooklyn. This is Brooklyn. They know this is the home of the murderers, and so we're gonna come to Brooklyn. We're gonna pop out a trunk and show you a bunch of guns in the trunk of a car, right? And it's easy to purchase that. State prison, you also got the correction who bring in the weapons, right? People don't pay attention enough to the fact that there's cell phones and drugs. A lot of that is the mass majority of it is correction. Because you can't tell me that a visitor brung in 10 phones, it's got 10 inmates in there with phones and they all came from visitors. No. So it's the same thing. All the weapons and drugs predominantly in the state prisons come from the corruption officers. Notice I said corruption, not correction.
How do you feel about those officers smuggling in?
I mean, it worked for me. How do I feel about the officers? I mean, it worked for me when I was in a criminal mind in Rikers. I used to have it bring us weed and alcohol. And so we used to be in there smoking weed in the cell. We get a new officer come through, he'll come knock on the cell door, see 4 of us in there. You're like, oh, I'm calling the captain. Like, don't do that. You see these individuals in here, these the most violent people in this house. We sitting in here smoking and chilling, leave us alone. If you leave us alone, this house stays calm, you can have a great tour, officer. Go check with your partner in the bubble. He'll come back. Hey, I'll let you know when the captain come by. All right, thank you. Because the guy in the bubble is actually the person who gave me the weed in the first place. So I'd be hypocritical and say I didn't benefit from correction officers. What is the most valuable contraband in prison? That can be, depends on how you look at it. And I say that because New York has a lot of drugs. You got weed, you got Suboxone, now they got whatever that synthetic marijuana, K2. You've had weed in that for years, right? And you can make money when you got weed in jail. But now, if you got a razor, right, that's a very valuable piece of contraband because you know that you have protection, and most people don't have razors in jail. You know nobody got no gun. So depending on what type of life you living in there, if you got a bunch of issues, back in the days when I was in there as a young adolescent, the most valuable contraband was that Gem Star. We call it Gem Star as a razor. We just keep them in our mouth, spit them out. You kept that Gem Star, taped it up. A lot of guys used to take it, including myself, keep it. We used to buff it. Buff it means you got to put it in a safe place away from the police, and that traveled with us throughout state prison. So you could take a Gem Star and go from jail to jail. So that, to me, was the most valuable piece of contraband in prison, the Gem Star.
How would you go about securing that?
I ain't even want me to answer that. Okay, so you secure that in your dunk chute. I don't know if you know what that is, but that is your gluteus maximus, right? That's where that goes, okay? Up your butt, all right? If you don't understand what the gluteus maximus is. So for example, we would find even a piece of cardboard or something that we would get electrical tape, wrap, take this, fold it up in the size, right? But make sure the razor can fit in there. Once we fold it up, it fits there. We cut all the pieces we need on the side. The razor can now is a holster. I slip it in, it's in its holster. This holster, I now get a glove or something, a plastic glove. There's a bunch of gloves in jail. Let me pull it back out, I forgot. Let me take it out. Let me put my string through the little hole in the razor so that I can pull that out if I need to, because when I buff it, I can just pull it out. I ain't gotta go and get it, I ain't gotta doodle. I just pull out the cord and I got my razor when it's time to fight in jail. How did the prison guards treat you? The prison guards treated me like the asshole that I was. I mean, I didn't have no respect for them. Like, there's the thing where you gotta pull your pants up. I'm not pulling my pants up. Stop talking to me, officer. I don't care nothing. I'm in jail. Like, what are you gonna do? Put me in jail, right? where else are you going? You put me in a box, which is a special housing unit. I'm just being there by myself and just sit there and read books and talk on the gate, and you eventually got to take me out of there, right? But that, you got to think about that mindset. Like, you're already at the bottom of the barrel. Like, what you gonna do to me, officer? It was just a hate relationship. And you might have had one or two good guys here and there. That in Rikers, it was different because you got a lot of black officers that come from your community, and there's a different level of respect, right? We would move different, and they would treat you with respect. And a lot of times they relied on us, the ones who controlled the housing areas, because we kept the calm, we kept the violence down. I was one of those who always maintained a calm, respectable housing area wherever I was incarcerated. And we had good relationships because they were actually from the same neighborhoods and they treated you with respect. But in state prison, there's no relationship, there's no respect. They're still killing us now. They just killed a brother by the name of Robert Brooks. We were just protesting in Albany, about 14 officers beat him on camera. And that's just the culture of violence from the correctional officers in Rikers Island. How did you get out? What do you do now? It took a while to transition to getting out. I had to change my mindset, change my life. What I do now is I prevent violence from happening. I use my reputation through the years of being a gang leader, blood leader, and stopping violence. When I once promoted it, I supported it. I was an advocate for violence. I became an advocate against the violence. So that's what I do now. I have a nonprofit organization called Gangsters Making Astronomical Community Changes, and we focus on gang violence prevention, helping someone transition from the lifestyle, showing them that there's something else. What was your relationship with the cops? But anyhow, yes. So I don't know if to say was or what, because I still have a relationship with the cops. I'm terrorized of them. But when I say I'm terrorized, I know that they're capable of shooting me down at any time. So I'm someone who also advocates against police brutality. So every time something happens in my community, they know that I'm going to be out there, and I'm forever, in their eyes, a problem because I'm a leader who is not afraid to speak up against their injustices and their police brutality. And I feel that when we talk about gun violence in society, I need to really understand, or help we all can understand, why that the police are taken out of the conversation around the overall numbers on gun violence. Police shooting down all the black and men and women is gun violence. So the number is higher than people even pay attention to. Let's put it together and bring down all levels of gun violence, not just us against us. Do you feel guilty for the crimes you committed? No. No, I don't. I haven't done any, I have never committed a crime against an innocent person. And any crime that I've done has been, in my mind at that time, factual survival. The will to live, the will to get by, the will to eat, the will to not be killed. So yes, I've done time, I've been convicted for robberies and weapon possession, and I've had drug possession for drug sales. So no, I felt that was my education in life, to be able to get to the point where I am. So no, I don't feel guilty, because once again, I do not and have never and will never commit a crime against a woman or a child or innocent person.
Rikers is up in flames. It's always been up in flames, but this time period that I'm there, they're finding razors, they're finding ounces of weed, ounces of tobacco. All of that stuff gets brought in by somebody.
As long as you got people who are like you working there, it's not gonna stop, bro.
To find people like me.